Have you ever stopped to think about how you get energy? I mean, really think about it? It all boils down to this tiny, controlled fire happening in every single one of your cells. And you know what any fire needs? Oxygen. But here's the puzzle. How does a gas, something you breathe in from the air, travel through your watery bloodstream to get to, say, a muscle in your toe? Well, the answer is a molecular marvel, an absolutely incredible protein that acts as the body's ultimate delivery service. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on hemoglobin. All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the big problem that hemoglobin was born to solve. Then, we'll meet the key proteins on the job. After that, we're zooming way in, right into the engine that actually grabs the oxygen. We'll see how this whole thing is like a shape-shifting delivery truck, find out how our bodies take the driver's seat to control it all, and finally, we'll uncover a single fatal weakness in this nearly perfect system. So let's just start at square one. Why do we even need something as complicated as hemoglobin in the first place? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental clash between simple chemistry and the insane energy demands of our bodies. Okay, so here's the real challenge. Oxygen is a gas, and gases, they really don't like dissolving in liquid. It's kind of like trying to get oil and water to mix. Our blood is mostly water, so if we had to rely on just oxygen passively dissolving into it, well, we'd be in big trouble. Only a tiny, tiny fraction of the oxygen we need would ever make it to our cells. Evolution had to come up with a better way, a dedicated courier service to pick up oxygen in the lungs and make sure it gets delivered to every last customer. And the payoff for solving this problem? Oh, it's a huge one. When our cells get to use oxygen, they can squeeze about 15 times more energy out of a single molecule of glucose. Think about that, 15 times. That incredible efficiency is what powers literally everything you do, from thinking about your next meal to running a marathon. Without an efficient oxygen delivery system, complex active life like ours just wouldn't be possible. The stakes for getting this right are about as high as they get. So, to solve this oxygen problem, life evolved two specialized proteins. You can think of them as molecular cousins, each with a very different, very specific job. So let's meet the heroes of our story, myoglobin and hemoglobin. The easiest way to think about this is with an analogy. Hemoglobin, that's your long-haul delivery truck. It's a big, complex structure made of 4 parts cruising around in your red blood cells. Its main job is to haul oxygen over long distances, from the lungs out to the tissues. And the key thing is its grip on oxygen can change. It knows when to hold on tight and when to let go. Myoglobin, on the other hand, is the local storage locker. It's a simpler, smaller protein that just hangs out right in your muscle tissue. Its job is to grab oxygen from the hemoglobin truck and hold on to it really, really tightly, creating a little emergency stash for when the muscle is working hard and needs it right now. So, how do these proteins actually grab onto a molecule of oxygen? Well, the secret isn't actually in the main protein chains themselves. Nope, it's in a special, non-protein part that they carry around. So let's zoom in and look at the real heart of the operation, a little thing called the heme group. Now, this special component is called a prosthetic group. Just think of it like a specialized tool that a worker needs to do their job. The protein itself is a brilliant machine, but it can't actually grab oxygen on its own. It needs this tool. The entire massive hemoglobin protein is basically just an incredibly sophisticated carrying case, built to protect and operate this one critical part. And here it is, the heme group itself. It's basically a flat ring of atoms, and sitting right in the dead center, held in a tight grip by 4 nitrogen atoms, is a single atom of iron. This is where the magic happens. It's this one iron atom in a very specific chemical state that forms a direct bond with a molecule of oxygen. This is the spot. This is the whole shebang. But there's a catch. That iron atom is super reactive. If you just left it out in the open, it would immediately get oxidized. It would change its charge and turn into a different form, Fe3+. And here's the problem. That form of iron cannot bind to oxygen. So maybe the most important job of the entire surrounding protein is to create this little protected pocket that keeps water out. This shield prevents that iron from rusting, basically, keeping it in its functional oxygen-carrying state. And inside this protective pocket, 2 specific amino acids called histidines play these starring roles.
The proximal one acts like a physical anchor. It forms a direct bond to the iron atom, tethering it to the rest of the protein. And that link is going to be super important in a second. Then there's the distal histidine. It acts like a gatekeeper, hovering over the other side of the heme group. It makes sure that only oxygen can fit in just right, and it gives that precious iron atom even more protection from nasty side reactions.
Okay, so this brings us to the true genius of hemoglobin. It's not just some passive bucket carrying oxygen around. No, it's a dynamic, intelligent machine. Its incredible ability to be greedy for oxygen in the lungs but generous in the tissues all comes down to its amazing ability to change its shape. See, hemoglobin can exist in two main shapes or states. There's the tense or T state. It's all constricted and tight, held together by a network of chemical bonds. In this T state, it has a low affinity for oxygen. It wants to let it go. This is the shape it prefers when it's out in your tissues. Then there's the relaxed or R state. Here, it's more open, a lot of those bonds are broken, and in this R state, it has a very high affinity for oxygen. It wants to grab on tight. This is the shape it favors when it's in your lungs. So how does it flip between these two states? This is where the magic of cooperativity comes in. It's just so cool. Watch this. When the very first molecule of oxygen binds, it physically pulls that iron atom. Remember how that iron is anchored by the proximal histidine? Well, that pull on the iron tugs the whole protein chain it's attached to. This tiny little movement creates a domino effect, shifting the shape of the entire subunit. And that shift breaks the bonds connecting it to its neighbors, causing them to flip into that high-affinity, relaxed state. It's incredible. Binding one oxygen literally makes the whole protein hungry for more. This is just a brilliant piece of engineering. It means that oxygen is both the cargo being carried, and it's also the signal that tells hemoglobin to get ready to pick up more cargo. The payload itself is what flips the switch from unload mode to load mode. It is a perfectly efficient, self-regulating feedback loop. But it gets even better. Oxygen isn't the only thing that can influence hemoglobin. The body has other chemical signals it can send to fine-tune this whole process, basically forcing hemoglobin to drop off oxygen precisely where it's needed the most. Let's see how it pulls that off. One of the main tools the body uses is called the Bohr effect. And really all it means is that hemoglobin's desire to hold on to oxygen goes down when its environment gets more acidic. So the lower the pH, the more it wants to release that oxygen. Okay, so picture this. You're working out, your muscles are burning fuel like crazy, and they're producing waste products, carbon dioxide and lactic acid. All that waste makes the area more acidic, right? The pH drops. Well, those extra acid protons float over and bind to the hemoglobin. This helps to reform those bonds that lock it back into that low affinity, tense state. And the result? Hemoglobin is forced to dump its oxygen payload right there, exactly where the metabolic fire is burning the hottest. It's a perfect supply and demand system, all run by chemistry. But the body has another trick up its sleeve, especially for more long-term adjustments. It uses a special molecule called 2,3-BPG. You can think of this thing as a master regulator that can tweak hemoglobin's baseline settings, helping us adapt to really challenging environments. And high altitude is the perfect example. When you go up a mountain, the air is thinner, right? There's just less oxygen available. So your hemoglobin can't get a full load in the lungs. And at first, as you can see here, your delivery efficiency drops. But your body is smart. It adapts by producing more of this 2,3-BPG. This molecule literally wedges itself into the hemoglobin, stabilizing that low affinity, tense state. Now, this sounds weird, but by making hemoglobin less sticky, it ensures that what little oxygen it does pick up gets released more easily to the tissues. It's a clever workaround that restores delivery efficiency so you can function even when there's less oxygen to breathe. So, we have this intricate, responsive, beautifully tuned machine. It's a masterpiece. But for all its complexity, it has one critical vulnerability. A single molecule that can come in and hijack the entire system with deadly efficiency. And that molecule is carbon monoxide. The thing is, it looks a lot like oxygen, and it binds to the exact same spot, that iron atom in the heme group. Here's the terrifying part. It binds with an affinity that is almost impossible to wrap your head around. It binds 25,000 times more tightly than oxygen does. And that leads to a deadly outcome. When a carbon monoxide molecule latches onto that iron, it does not let go.
It's like a carjacker who steals one of the delivery trucks and just parks it forever. Even a tiny amount of CO in the air you breathe is so dangerous because over time, more and more of your hemoglobin delivery trucks get taken out of service permanently. Oxygen can no longer be transported, and your body's tissues begin to suffocate.
So, there you have it. Hemoglobin, a true master of transport, a marvel of molecular engineering. It's a shapeshifter that talks to itself, that responds to its environment, that literally makes our energetic lives possible. And yet, all of that elegance and complexity can be brought to its knees by a fatal attraction to a single molecular imposter. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible, invisible machines are working tirelessly inside us right now, balancing on that same knife's edge between perfect function and potential disaster?